Hello everybody, how is it going? So today we're taking a look at Green Yellow Law. I've been more theorying the deck a little bit. We kind of slapped some cards together. I have some cards I want to talk about, and yeah, I just figured you guys would be interested because the channel started on Law, Red Green Law. I didn't really play Red Purple Law, but Green Yellow Law sounds a lot like Red Green Law, but we have green and yellow instead of green and red. So kind of interesting, but if you guys don't know what the leader does, we can go into this real quick. Also, I'll link this website in the description if you guys want to check out any of the OP10 cards, but it's you get 4 life, 5k leader, Dawn X1, activate main once per turn. If the total cost of your characters is 5 or more, you can return one of your characters to your owner's hand, reveal the top card of your life, and if that card is a character card with the trait Supernova and a cost of 5 or less, you may bring it into play. So very similar to Red Green Law, only needing 1 Dawn to actually use your leader effect, and also only needing a total cost of 5 on your board to use your leader effect, which is kind of a big deal, honestly. Like, it does make it a lot less vulnerable to stuff like removal. The biggest card in the deck is definitely Cavendish, and I'll get into it a little bit more as we talk about the cards and stuff. But yeah, there aren't a ton of green cards that really got printed here for support for Law, which, I mean, I guess fair enough. You know, it's more on the yellow side because of like Kid and yeah, and like Law. Obviously, they can both use the Supernovas in yellow, so I guess that was the mentality there. But we did get 2 new events, so we can read them real quick. First one is Weak People Can't Choose How They Die. It doesn't have a trigger, but it does have a main/counter. KO up to one of your opponent's characters that are rested with a cost of 7 or less. For 5 Dawn in a deck that really doesn't want to hold up much Dawn, at least Red Green never really wanted to hold up more than like 1, because, you know, you can obviously swing with your little characters, get a lot of value. So I don't see this card really being played. Seems very expensive. Counter is like kind of cool, but yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this card. I could be proven wrong, but with kind of how I want to take the deck, which is just very similar to Red Green, I don't see myself playing this card. And the other one is Radio Knife. It's main, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 6 or less, then kill up to one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 5 or less. And the trigger is put up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less into rest. So yeah, you can tap something if you trigger it off of life, which is, again, it's like okay. It's not terrible. It's kind of like a jet pistol with a couple extra steps. Obviously, hitting or KOing a 5 cost is pretty good. It's solid. And resting a 6 or less, I mean, I guess the only 6 cost blocker I can think of at the moment is like what's his name, Hawkins, and like Bonnie. I'm gonna be honest, guys, I haven't been playing a ton, so if there are other cards that like I'm not thinking of, you know, definitely let me know. But yeah, card seems okay. I'm not a huge fan of it. It's a removal spell, which, I mean, I think yellow also got one, and we're gonna go to the yellow cards now, so maybe that one will be a bit better. I forget what page it's on. It starts on 6. Here's Kid. I love this alt art, by the way. I just have to throw that out there. I think that art is sick. I'm skipping over Inazuma. We're not playing him in the deck. We're not gonna think about it. So starting off, Beji got another 2k counter in yellow, which is, you know, it's funny, but he says, on play, you can add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life to your hand, and add 1 character card with the characteristic Supernova from your hand face up on your life. So just a very easy enabler for Law. That's basically Hiyori, but a bit more specific to Law. So yeah, it's a good card. Just being a 1-drop is also very good. Obviously, we just want to bounce our low-costed cards with our leader effect. It's a 2k counter, so yep. Always, you know, stuff we want to pick up is always good, and this card is basically just sets up our whole leader effect, which is great. And it's also a 2k counter. I was kind of reading this card. It seems okay. It's killer. It's on KO. If your leader is Supernova, you can look at the top 3 and add a Supernova or Kid Pirate. I think it's more for Kid, but even then, I feel like, isn't this just like worst Pero Sparrow? Like, he doesn't have a trigger. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, that's I don't think. I guess you can make him a blocker and block with him. That's kind of good. But this, yeah, I don't really see myself playing that in Law. But Bonnie does seem very solid. She's a blocker, 3 cost 4k, has counter. It says on play, you can add 1 card from the top and bottom of your life, and then add 1 character card with the cost a 5 or less Supernova, or unless it's specifically 5, I don't know. But yeah, again, setting up your leader effect. It's a blocker. Blockers are pretty good. It's a 3 cost also, you can play off of blocker law, so that is a consideration. Does let you set up maybe a trigger potentially, but what I was upset about is I was going over these cards. Rocket Luffy, or like the Vegapunk Luffy, isn't a supernova. Why isn't he a supernova? Like, I don't get it. Like, whatever, man, whatever. That's just something I wanted to point out, and I'm kind of sad about. Apu, once again, 1 cost, 1k, 1k counter, pretty good, solid. If you have a character other than Scratchman Apu with the yellow trait Supernova, this character gains blocker. I'm not sure if this translation is like completely correct, but if I need to have a yellow card, a yellow Supernova on board for this to be a blocker, I really don't want to play it. That's where I'm at. I'd rather just play green veggie. Yeah, I mean, meeting this with like just a green Supernova is very easy. That's our whole game plan, but most of the yellow cards, outside of maybe Bonnie, I don't think we're really leaving them on board. A lot of them are just bounce targets, but yeah, kind of iffy on that card. I'm getting specifically into what I want to put in the decks. That's why we're only going over certain things. But we have Luffy Searcher, 1 cost 2k, 1k counter. On play, look at the top 5, reveal up to 1 card with Supernova. Other than Luffy, add it to your hand, and then bottom deck the rest. A classic Searcher, but specifically for Supernova, which is super strong. I think that even comparing this deck to red-green, I think this deck will be more consistent because Luffy adds Supernovas and Green Bonnie adds Supernovas, so you kind of just can't miss. Yeah, so that is one thing I'll give it to for green-yellow, is that the consistency seems very, very good. So that's awesome. Moving on, we have yellow Rush Zoro, which is kind of funny. If your life total is less than your opponent's, it gains Rush, and it does have a trigger, which lets you play him, which is solid. We take those. Yeah, it's literally just Rush Zoro. Your life should be less than your opponent's. You're a 4-life leader, and your main effect is taking your life. So this should almost always have Rush, unless maybe towards the end of the game, I guess it might get a little bit awkward if you're doing law things and bouncing him and replaying him, and somehow you end up on even. Yeah, could get a little bit funky there, but besides the point, still should be solid most of the game, if not all the game. Another card I was reading, I don't know again if we'll play it, but it's X-Drake. It says activate main. It is a 2k counter, by the way. You can rest it, and if the number of your life is equal to or less than your opponent's life, you can tap a 4 or less. It's a searchable 2k. It's a 3/3. You can play it off law, so you can bounce a searcher, play this, tap it, tap something, and maybe get some swings in. I don't know how good it is. It might have a little bit of utility, which you might want, but definitely not a bad card. And yeah, we can look at the events real quick. I'm not a huge fan of them, quite honestly. Once again, Supernova Kid Pirates counter. Up to one of your leaders or characters gets plus 4k, and then afterwards, if you have 0 life, draw a card. So kind of being a free counter is pretty good. We know that effect is solid with stuff like Gum Gum Giant, but you need to be at 0 life, which is not going to be always. So it seems a little bit less consistent than some other yellow events, such as what's the Sky Island one? Man, it's escaping me now. But the Radical Beam for yellow, basically. I can't think of its name. My bad. And then we have Broom, which is Supernova Heart Pirates. Counter, if you have 1 or less life, your leader gets plus 3k, and then afterwards you can untap a character with a cost of 5 or less, triggers, draw a card. This is Paradise Waterfall, but with an extra counter. It's like a guard point plus the resend effect, which is pretty good. Once again, it says have 1 or less life. That's a bit easier, I'd say, than having 0. Like, more reasonable to like leave Dawn up for an event. Like being at 1 doesn't seem too crazy. Red Green Law gets to 1 pretty often, honestly, and you're able to stabilize pretty well. So don't hate this card. I'd have to actually test the deck, which we really can't do yet because not all the OP10 cards are on the sim, but we do have all of them revealed. So yeah, we'll see. But anyways, I'll switch over to the deck list and we can talk a little bit more about the deck. All right, we're back. Yeah, so I used some kind of fillers as cards here because obviously not all of the OP10 cards are on the sim yet, but Zoros are just the yellow Zoros. Just imagine that. All these are the normal cards. This will be our new law, which I actually didn't go over. I'll put that clip in real quick. Okay, my bad. I forgot to explain probably the biggest piece of support in this set for the deck. It's 7-drop Law. 7 cost 9k, no counter, all good. Says on play, reveal one character card with the characteristic or trait, whatever, supernova from your hand, add it to your face down to your life, and then give Arrested Dawn to one of your leaders, as long as your leader is supernova, which obviously our leader will be supernova. So yeah, just sets up your entire leader effect. Heals you 1, which is great because I feel like you'll spend a lot of life in this deck. So yeah, really good card. Definitely playing. I assume we're playing 4 of it. Maybe we're playing less, maybe 3. We should be able to find it easily, but yeah. Anyways, back to the rest of it. But moving on. Yeah, this is the list. The 3-cost Bonnies are just the new 3-cost Bonnies. The blocker that lets you stack your life. Same effect as Veggie. The Garps are the new Luffy. And I did put in like a guard point to represent the other 3k counter. Again, I'm iffy on it. This is a very tweakable list, and I am playing more pizza because this deck doesn't really need a ton of 1-drops to really get the gears going. You kind of just want like a Searcher, a Veggie. It's mainly Veggie. Like he's really big here. I put in Hiyori because it's the same effect as Veggie, but on a bit more expensive body, which you don't really want, but it's still a 2k counter. It seems solid, and I threw this Veggie in for his placeholder. He's not a supernova, oh well, but trigger him out of life is strong, and yeah, I just needed slots to fill up. So we have a lot of Veggies in the deck. We have 3 different kinds of Veggies. But yeah, just taking a look at the list, it's going to heavily rely on Cavendish. I think this card is really going to be the bread and butter, just thinking about it, because going into your 5-Dawn turn, you just slam down a Cavendish. If you have Veggie, you will play the Veggie, you'll stack whatever you want in life. It's probably going to end up being a blocker Law, and hopefully from a turn prior you maybe have a Searcher on board, or just anything to bounce. Like even if it's just like a blocker Veggie, whatever, you can bounce it. So yeah, for like our turn or a 5-Dawn turn, we really want Cavendish, Veggie, and hopefully we have like a 1-drop on board. Ideally Luffy would be the ideal, but yeah, we play Cavendish, play Veggie, stack a blocker Law, use our 1 extra Dawn to put on our leader, activate it, bounce the Veggie, cheat out the Law, bounce our whatever we had prior, hopefully a Luffy, and just into our Rush Zoro. And that is a huge turn. That's what, 13 Dawn on your 3rd turn, which is crazy. Obviously this going second will also work with Hiyori because we'll have the extra Dawn we need to play a 2-drop instead of a 1-drop. So yeah, it seems like a very specific combination of cards, but we have 4, 8, 10 different ways, or 10 searchers that we can all play on the 2 turns prior to find these pieces. So I don't think it's too crazy to really say that like getting this off is hard. Like I feel like you'll get it way more than you realize. So yeah, that's kind of just what I've been thinking of. And obviously the turn after, if we're playing on curve, we have the new Law, which I hopefully explained, but yeah, it's again, you just reveal a 5 cost, put it on top of your life, and then he gives a Dawn to your leader, so he literally sets all of it up for you, and then just bounce something, cheat out, whatever. If you need to play like a 1-drop, you can just swing with your Cavendish from the last turn. Again, this is all in an ideal world, but yeah, the deck definitely seems very strong. Obviously we're playing Restand Law because if we're playing all these 5-drops, this card gets a lot of value from restanding a Cavendish. Also just a very good tool going for game. I kept the Veggies. Obviously we don't have Chopper, and that was kind of what we played in red-green because it kind of just filled out what Nami needed to hit, like your Nami search targets. But now we're only searching Supernovas, so yeah, Veggie is just back in. You could consider playing Killer if the deck feels it struggles on card advantage. It shouldn't, honestly. It's going to feel a lot like red-green, where we'll be playing our searchers a lot and then taking them back to hand to get, more card advantage. So I feel like, the deck shouldn't struggle too much on card advantage. I think the main thing I'm really considering, about the deck is just, we can definitely cut down. We're running, 12 2Ks? We can definitely cut down to maybe 10 and fit in more cards. I'm just not sure what I'd really want to add in yet. I feel like there weren't a ton of cards we really want to put in this deck from OP10. So it's going to be mostly cards we've already had previously for green Supernova support. We really don't have many previous yellow Supernova. I'm still so mad about Rocket Luffy and him not being a Supernova. I feel like that card would have been sweet, just on your later turns, just cheating out of Luffy, popping something, getting a draw, and then obviously you still have all of your other plays. But I think the main thing will just be like the events, and if we want to play more, if we want to play different 2Ks, there is like both of the Apu counters. You can consider playing the new one-drop Apu, but I think the only time that'll be active if you need a yellow supernova. That's, again, translation might be off, but I'm pretty sure it wouldn't say that if that were true. But like having like the yellow Zoro out would probably be the best case scenario. But yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at. I wanted to talk about the deck whenever we can play this on the sim. I'll definitely be testing it. If you guys have any ideas for the deck, let me know. My main thought was just Cavendish is an absolute horse of this deck, just absolute workhorse. Just everything you'd want for this deck is in that card. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Let me know what you guys think. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.